Hello everybody, it is Fallon here, back with another episode of the Queen Factor podcast. It's been a little bit, it's been a couple months here. The last episode, I had my lovely dear mum on. Anyone else watch too much Love Island and then find themselves talking in accents all the time? I love accents, so that's me. But I thought I would bring it back. So much has happened in the past month since you've seen me. It has been, I can't believe it, a full month since I was crowned America's Most Beautiful Miss. Oh my goodness. So I kind of want to just go through my whole pageant journey, especially at AMB and my journey to the crown, kind of how I started in pageants. And I really want to continue this Journey to the Crown series and interview my sister queens and some other wonderful title holders to see everyone's journey and how we come to these accomplishments, but it never ends, right? We just continue our goals. They just get bigger and bigger, but this has been such a blessing. So I'm so excited to share the journey and my experience with you. And hopefully if you compete in pageants, maybe you can extend your experience as well in this system, or if you're new to pageants and thinking about one, this is a perfect starter for you. And even if you aren't a part of the pageant world, it's still a beautiful story to listen to, and you'll learn a little bit about me and what the pageant world is really about, because I know from the outside it might look a little funny. We walk around on this stage in sparkly gowns and a sparkly crown. I actually am representing right here. We got our super cute swag from Samantha, our director, so we've been getting some wonderful sponsor prizes. That is one of the main attractions of this system. So I have the bedazzled rhinestone jacket. It says America's Most Beautiful Miss on the back. So cute. And I got my handy dandy Stanley Cup here. So cute. Okay. So let's get into it, y'all. I know some people are just listening and some people are watching, but these podcasts are available in video and on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you can find podcasts. So I want to tell you a little bit about the Queen Factor. If you haven't listened, I got some new listeners, I'm sure, with this title. So I started this podcast. I actually have always wanted to do some kind of media production. I wanted to start a YouTube channel for so long, and you know I love public speaking. So when I graduated from USC in 2020, I literally struggled so hard to find a job because it was COVID and I hadn't had any experience yet. I was applying and everyone, hundreds and thousands of applications, so I'm was really in that struggle bus, but I decided I'm gonna take matters into my own hands, and I really wanted to start developing my own social media platforms and my own media, my own content. So I started the Queen Factor because it would be wonderful to have a place where someone can go for all of the life tips from pageants, of course, but interview skills and busting fitness myths and of course different nutritional advice, but also confidence and mental health. I am not a certified mental health coach, but I am a certified fitness coach. So I feel like I'm able to contribute a lot of info there, but also just from my own personal experiences. I have wonderful mentors and coaches who've helped me through my pageant years. So I'm able to take some things that I've learned and kind of culminate my own way that I interview, in my own way that I compete in pageants, but also how I go about my life. That's why I really accredit a lot of my confidence to pageants, because of all of the areas and how applicable they are to your real life. I say it every time that I got into USC because I know I nailed that interview, and generally I feel like my scores are, you know, these past 2 years were great across the board. I didn't see my scores yet from this past year, but the first year at AMB, I know I got the highest interview score, and so I really am championing those skills and able to, you know, continue to use those in the real world. So that is what my podcast is about. I want it to be a place where we can talk to different coaches and mentors and find out their experiences, fun interviews, but also just getting to know each other, sitting down for a chit chat, maybe grab a glass of wine, especially if you watched my last episode, a little emotional there with my mama for Mother's Day. But yeah, so I'm gonna start. We don't need to do a full about me for how I got into pageants because I do have a get to know me live on my Instagram, which is at Fallon_Williams_. So if you go and check that out, you can hear about how I got into pageants, but I really want to talk about my AMB experience and honestly how crazy it was the couple months leading up to the pageant. I started AMB last year for the first time. You know me, have competed in the USA system. I started as a teen in Texas, did it once, and then I came to California and competed 4 times. The crazy part of the story, I think, is the timing of everything and just how crazy and struggle bus my life was, but being able to see the beauty and the joy through difficult times. I feel like when it rains, it pours, and that's just like on top of everything, your car breaks down. So that was the kind of month I was having, and just some big life changes. And it was crazy with God's timing, how everything kind of worked out and just came about beautifully. So I competed in Miss California USA for the first time in 2019, and I made top 15, and I was so excited. I really loved that year, and I could see where I could get better, and I came back the next year and I did get better. I made third runner-up, which like I've won a couple pageants before, but that placement was so meaningful to me because of my ultimate dream of making it to Miss USA one day. So I came back, and I knew the next year that I didn't have an expectation to necessarily win. You don't want to expect to win, but I definitely did have a goal to at least try to make it to that same level or top 5 again, if not better, right? Because the goal is to honestly win one day. That's my ultimate goal, and I'm never gonna quit until it happens. But I literally came back the next year, and I jumbled my words up in my interview. I was so nervous going into interview, and it's funny because if you know me, I love to talk, I love interview, and I get most excited when I finally get to share my passions with the judges in the interview room. So I know I was waiting. I think we were just delayed in schedule a bit, so I was waiting there for a while in the heels. And you don't want to really, for me personally, I'm not going over my answers in my head right before I walk into interview. I think that'll just make me feel like rehearsed and question, you know, what my answers might be when I already know those answers inside. When we practice interview, yes, we want to have an idea of the answers we're going to say. So maybe if someone in a job interview would ask you, tell me about yourself, you can put in your head, I'm going to start with where I grew up, hometown, and then I'm going to say where I went to school, and you can kind of have this outline planned for you, even maybe the first couple words that help jog your memory for the sentence, but you don't want to practice a fully rehearsed answer. So I wanted to make sure I was authentically me, but in this waiting time, the third time it was California USA, I started going over in my head, and I just knew the nerves were getting to me. So I walked in. It's a 2-minute interview, y'all. There's not that much time. 2 minutes to get them to like you. That's all you got to do. They're probably not going to remember what you're going to say, which is what Kristen Dalton Wolf, Miss USA, and my mentor told me, and it stuck with me. So they might not remember what you say because there's so many girls and there's not that much time, but they will remember if you made them feel some type of way. So what's funny is I think the only way I made these judges feel was confused, because you know when you jumble your words, and I think I just messed up blah 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 my first sentence, and all I had to do was be like, oh, let me start that sentence over. But I just completely choked. Like my words couldn't come out of my mouth at all. Like that is what I sounded like. So not only do they think I really don't have much to contribute with what I had to say about myself and my passions, but they probably didn't even think that I spoke a lick of English. So got some gibberish across there, and I just knew right after, dang it, because I prepped so hard. You really do prep so long, and it is a long journey. It's rigorous, but you know, it's so worth it in the end. I just wish that months and hours of preparation in the gym and all of the nutrition prep and the money, of course, it came down to 2 minutes where I feel like I failed. And it felt like a failure at first, but it wasn't. I didn't feel any less than, because I knew that it wasn't my best. Definitely botched the interview. I think I did okay on the stage, but it wasn't enough. I didn't even get called for top 15. So that was the first time that I had not made the semifinals, and you know, it was a great experience to support my sisters, but you have such a big audience of people there to see you, so it definitely was hard on me for a bit, but it never ever slowed me down in my pursuit to that goal, which is something that I think has really helped me throughout the years. I've put myself in front of rejection, literally to be judged in front of literal judges, but I've put myself in the face of critique, or you know, in front of rejection so many times, the potential rejection, that it becomes just fuel for me now. And you got to let it add to your fire, because if you let it get you down, you're never gonna go. They say the difference between successful people and people who don't reach success is that the successful people simply just never stopped trying. So eventually, after all those no's, all those runner-ups, all of the ensembles that I made in theater, instead of the lead roles, there's so many years that I felt have just been thickening my skin and really boosting that fire and fuel within me to keep going. So I came back the next year, a fourth time, and I was so proud of my performance this year. I trained and trained and trained, and I really just felt like I was truly me. I was myself in the interview room. I loved my wardrobe. I looked the best I ever looked swimsuit wise, so I was really proud of myself. And I did make top 15, so I was so proud of that, but it wasn't a top 5 year for me this year. And that's okay, because let me tell you the year that I had. So I won't go into detail, but obviously you guys know that I moved back home. So I was in a relationship for almost 6 years. We, came to the conclusion to end, and I had moved back home, and all of this was happening literally 2 weeks before the pageant, or I was considering moving back home because it is not very affordable to live in LA by yourself. You can do it, but I was not willing to sacrifice in-unit laundry, and I got a lot of clothes and a lot of shoes. So I thought, I've always wanted to move back home. I was always going to come back home to Houston and live here. So it was really, I felt like the perfect time. So what's funny is I stayed in LA after school. I moved there originally in 2016 for school, and I stayed there for obviously 4 years throughout school and a couple years after, still trying to pursue modeling and acting, but I really found it difficult to pursue that outside of my full-time job. I think that's the catch-22 we all have for those who have their own big dreams that are just going to take a little bit longer to develop and fulfill. For example, myself, I have these big dreams with the Queen Factor and my mentorship programs and my fitness programs, but those are going to develop slowly. So how do I find time to dedicate to those goals when I still need to pay the rent with a full-time job? And I also was working a second job, and I would have like pageants, or I would have private one-on-one coaching. No modeling because I never found representation while it was in LA. So that was my ultimate goal there. I loved living in LA, but it was just time to move back. So what's crazy is when all this was happening, I'm moving. What else? My car completely breaks down. It was old, starting to get old, I guess, but that of course on top of everything. And it was just things like that. My uncle had passed away in that month, and it was so much going on with family. So I couldn't believe that I still felt so peaceful and positive going into pageant weekend, and especially into AMB. So I felt like I kept comparing myself to that dog in the fire meme where he's just holding the coffee saying this is fine in the fire, because so much was going on. But I knew that everything happens for a reason, even when I didn't meet my goal in Miss California USA. So right after Miss California USA was when I decided to officially move back home. And moving back to Texas, the opportunity presented itself to compete in AMB again because I had won the photo contest. So let's go back to my first year at AMB before I get into this year's experience. Last year, when I didn't even make top 15 at Miss California, I came to AMB, and it was just a breath of fresh air to walk into the room and to feel like, not that in other places you don't, but just to feel so welcome and appreciated and pampered. And she had everything, Samantha and the staff, they have everything set up for you, from goodies to just welcoming you in. The flexible schedule, it is still a busy 4 days, y'all. A national pageant, any pageant is going to be very busy, especially if you're like me and you're in the optionals. But there's an Austin Red photo shoot as well. So you stay quite busy, but she plans it out so organized that there is no hurry up and wait time, and it's all very flexible with your schedule, so we can be adults and we can, have time in between and eat. Like literally, time to eat is so important. Sometimes that doesn't happen pageant days. So I just really appreciated that. And the biggest thing was the women. So there is all ages, not all ages, but they have a starting at our preteens, and we go into Mrs. all the way up to Mrs. So those are actually married women, and a lot of them have kids. So it was just awesome to see so many different experiences from different ages and different groups of women. And then all of these girls are just so down to earth, these girls and women. So I was really, really appreciative to find that, you know, I've never experienced cattiness in a pageant, but just to feel like everyone was there championing each other and supporting each other. So last year I loved the whole experience, and I made second runner-up, which I was so proud of, and I got best in interview, and I won the Fresh Face Award from MMG. So fast forward to this year, I knew I had to go back to A&B, and it was just as much of a blast, if not more. It is like my mother and my happy time when we go to our pageant weekend, and this one's in Dallas, so it's close to home, and my other family can come see me. So I have my best friends there, great support systems, and the girls this year, I got to see Maddie, my great friend from last year, and Christine, all the returning girls, but there were so many new women too. I made a really great new friend, Lisa, who was my first runner-up. So I made the best friends this past month, that weekend, and that was definitely my favorite part. Obviously, the moment that they don't call your name and you hear, and that means you're a winner, is honestly, that experience is something you wait for and you just pray about, and it was really just such a rewarding, happy moment for me and my family. I think there's a photo of my mom when she actually hears my name. I wish someone got it on video, but her literally bawling. So it was really awesome. I felt like I did really well all weekend. I really was proud of my interview. Like, had so much fun in the round robin interview. And that's another portion of, or reason why I love the system, is because you get 3 minutes with all 5 judges. It's a 15-minute interview, I believe, and that's wonderful because they can really get to know you, and you can connect one-on-one with someone, and there's a variety of personalities. So I felt like I was able to connect here and there with each judge, and I made them laugh. Some of us shared a heartfelt moment, and some we got, you know, nitty-gritty into why do you want to be this title holder. So it was a wide variety of content, but I had the most fun like ever that I've had in an interview. So I felt really good about it. And then on stage, I'm really proud of my swimsuit walk and my swimsuit body, but this is the most consistent I've been. So I was super proud of the physique that I had accomplished, and I'm trying to hold on to it. But I'd really been working on my walk and just felt like I needed to add more energy, slow it down in the evening gown. So I was just little tips that you go back and you watch yourself, and there's always something to learn and always a way to grow. And that's what's beautiful too, is that each year, even though I wouldn't win or haven't won until now, I was able to grow and improve in some way, and you're just ultimately getting better at pageants and better at life, of course. In evening gown, I was so proud, and then come finals, I think I did okay in my top 5 answers. So it was good. But there was some kick-ass, can I say, answers up on that stage, y'all, and I was like, I don't know, like, I know I did well, but I don't know how it's gonna go. So it really was a true surprise when they announced me winner. So it was just such a blessing, and I am really just looking forward to continuing growing this system, but also recruiting more people so that you guys can experience this as well. I know it's a new system. We're in our 3rd year now. I'm coming on the 4th year. It's going to be July 4th weekend in Dallas. So I really hope you guys will reach out to me if you have any questions at all about the system, or just about pageants. I would love to continue to do these kind of one-on-ones. But that is my chit chat and my catch up. We are going to come in with Marta next episode. So she has a body dysmorphia platform, and we're going to chat about all things, because I feel like that affects all of us women and men. And then we're going to get into some more journey to the crowns, and we will continue on that nutritional advice and some fitness myth busters. I'd love to interview my owner from F45. So I have all these connections, y'all, and we're going to get it going and get back into the swing of the Queen Factor. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.